Georgi, to build some more on FDI analysis, EPRC has recently issued a very interesting study on COVID-19 era and investment perspectives. There is no doubt that in 2020 the rate of economic growth in the world will be significantly reduced, which will be especially painful for developing and less developed countries. Closing borders by countries, suspending economic activities and disrupting or postponing important international or local events will definitely reduce the rate of economic growth, and Georgia is not an exception. Unfortunately, statistics of investment flow of the first quarter of 2020 already indicates that compared to the same period of the previous year, FDI decreased by 42%, most severely affecting tourism and transportation sectors, which represent the major contributing sectors to the Georgian economy. This downward trend, on the other hand, increases the competition on the international investment market, and the Georgian government will have to make additional efforts in order to attract already limited foreign investment resources to the country.
So which factors create a favorable environment for investment? We've heard one answer to this question from our panelists and IFIs, but to summarize once more: first and foremost, stable political situation, protection of private property, fair juridical system, favorable tax regulation, cheap and qualified labor force, predictable economic environment and economic openness of the country, natural resources, strategic geographic location, free trade regimes, low level of corruption and country-specific attractive futures. If we look at Georgia, some of these factors are definitely and already in place, but most of them still need to be fundamentally improved. And if we look at major findings and recommendations of the EPRC research you have been referring to, it's easy to notice, Elena, that most of these recommendations are concentrated around such areas as comprehensive legal framework. So strengthening small and medium-sized enterprises, technological and logistical development, and for sure, educational system.
Yes, more on COVID-19 challenges and combating these challenges. The checkpoints went out and visited EPRC on their own premises. With these recent reports on most probable coronavirus second wave, post-crisis period might take longer than most of us have anticipated. One of the research organizations in Georgia focusing not only on local but global context as well is definitely EPRC. So we have come to ask them several questions. Irina Guruli from EPRC is waiting for us. Hi, Irina. What are some of the main tendencies that still remain, in your opinion, till today?
So what we see and what the lessons learned is that economic structure should be as diversified as possible. Also, given that small and medium-sized enterprises, which are not very stable and sustainable in reshuffling their managerial practices and the ways of doing business, it has been quite hard for them to reorient and restructure their activities.
So what do you think Georgia's post-crisis economy might be?
So we see some tendencies of moving closer to European borders, value chain production. So here we have to position ourselves as a strong economy, resilient economy, also strong in terms of democracy, rule of law, independent judiciary. Next year and this year might be quite harsh. The shrinkage will be about 5%, as we see in most of the prognosis given by international organizations. So the future outlook should be focused on the global perspectives.
Hi guys, the checkpoints is here. How are you?
Thanks, how are you?
Fine. So what are you doing here?
We're working on fourth issue of the American interest.
Is it the Georgian interest as well?
Yes, of course. This magazine is all about the Americans and how Americans see the world, and we would love to just give more information and more education and more experience to the Georgian readers to get this experience from the first hand from these world-class intellectuals.
Ani, more on this point. What do you think is the main goal of this publication?
Considering the current media climate of Georgia, where we have an overwhelming volume of disinformation, I think it's important that we have a journal that creates content based on critical thinking, analysis, correct factual information. We have authors that have been winners of Pulitzer Prize and Nobel Prize. We have scientists and writers from all over the world. I think we've already sent the journal to over 30 regional centers and organizations across Georgia. I think one of the greatest achievements is that we also sent the magazine to 14 penitentiary facilities so that people there have access to the information presented.
How does this journal and everything else ties into what you are doing with EPRC?
As Anna mentioned, we're doing all these different parts from economy to education, from education to democracy, because we strongly believe that Georgia is one of the trendsetter in this region, you know, and if Georgia is going to be surviving this battle for freedom and democracy, then our neighboring countries also follow us.
Wonderful. Let's hope that it happens the way Nino just said.